The formation of base peak in mass spectrometry is due to. They have given these options. So if I consider the mass spectrogram, where y-axis represents the intensity and the x-axis we have the m/z ratio. The base peak is the one which has the maximum intensity. That is, if I consider this chromatogram, this peak has the maximum intensity, hence we can say this as the base peak, and we assume the abundance of it to be 100%. Its relative abundance is more compared to the other these radicals. So for the formation of base peak, the m/z or this radical must be more stable. The stability of that radical must be at the highest when compared to other. Hence the option A, that is only ionization, can be cancelled. Then comes the option C, which states the ionization and stability of radical. If we consider the mass spectrometry, the radical doesn't play any role. Only the ions are detected in the mass chromatogram. Hence the radical are not detected. Hence option C can be cancelled. Then option B and D are left out. If we consider, let me consider A as a molecule and the electron is bombarded on it. So it will forms a cationic radical, and further the daughter radicals are formed. As we can see, only the cation and cation radicals are formed, hence the ionization and stability of cation or cationic radical is responsible for the base peak. Hence option D is cancelled. Hence option B, that is the ionization and stability of cation or cationic radical, is responsible for the formation of base peak. Arrange the following methyl halides in the order of increasing field strength. The field strength is nothing but the magnetic field that is experienced by the nucleus. Suppose I am providing a magnetic field B to the nucleus, then the net magnetic field experienced by this nucleus depend on the outer electron cloud that is surrounding it. So for a shielded nucleus, consider for a shielded nucleus, the net magnetic field or the magnetic field strength decreases because there are more number of electrons which provide diamagnetic shielding. Hence the net magnetic field experienced by this nucleus decreases. For a deshielded nucleus, the field strength increases because the electron cloud around the nucleus decreases in the deshielded nucleus. Hence the magnetic field experience would be greater. Hence the deshielded nucleus will have greater field strength. So they have given for fluorine, chlorine, bromine and iodine. Consider CH3F. Here fluorine is the most electronegative element. Hence the electron cloud around the hydrogen is more abstracted towards fluorine. Hence the hydrogen nucleus is more deshielded. Hence the magnetic field strength in fluorine is greater than chlorine, than bromine, and is least for iodine. So if I have to arrange the magnetic field strength in alkyl or the methyl halide, it would be the CH3F would have greater field strength than CH3Cl, than CH3Br, and is least for CH3I, because in CH3I it is the more shielded nucleus. Hence the magnetic field strength decreases. We have to calculate whether the symmetric stretching vibration mode of CO2 molecule is IR active or Raman active. So first we consider the IR active mode. For the molecule to be IR active, the net change in the dipole moment must not be equals to 0. So dipole moment is nothing but the separation of separation of charges. Separation of charges, that is, as oxygen is more electronegative, the electron in the bond is more dragged towards the oxygen, hence it has slightly delta negative charge, and the carbon will possess slightly, that is delta positive charge. Hence there is the separation of charges which induces the dipole. So the total change in the dipole moment of the molecule must not be equals to 0. So we have to calculate the mode of that is the symmetric stretching mode, either it is IR active or not. Consider the symmetric stretching right now. These are the symmetrical stretching mode of CO2, where here there is the elongation of bond taking place, here the compression of bond taking place. Here both the dipole of CO and this CO and this CO are acting in the opposite direction, here as well as here. Hence the net dipole moment delta nu is 0, because both the dipole are acting in the opposite direction, hence the dipole gets cancelled, hence the net dipole moment is 0. Hence in symmetrical stretching mode of CO2 it is IR inactive. If we consider any molecule the symmetrical stretching is always IR inactive, because the net dipole moment is 0 as both the dipole gets cancelled. Hence we can easily cancel option B and option D, because they have given in option B it is IR active, and option D it is also IR active. Then comes whether the symmetrical stretching has the Raman active or not. For the molecule to be Raman active, there must be a change in the polarizability. Polarizability is nothing but the distortion in the electron clouds. So the distortion in electron clouds happens when there is a change in the distance in the bond or the bond length. That is, in the symmetrical stretching, if we consider both, there is a difference in the bond length. Here, as the elongation happens as well as the contraction happens, the distance between the CO is changing, hence there is a change in polarizability. So we can easily say that in symmetrical stretching it has Raman active. Symmetrical stretching mode is Raman active, but it is IR inactive. So the option A would be incorrect. Option C, that is it is IR inactive and it is a Raman active mode. The carbon 13 NMR of CdCl3, that is we have to calculate the splitting of this signal. So it contains only one carbon, hence the number of signal is 1, and the splitting of this signal depend on the total number of active nuclei present in the atom. Here the chlorine, whose nuclear spin value is 0, hence it is nuclear inactive, but the deuterium, whose I value is 1, it's nuclear active, hence the signal is splitted. We know that 2ni plus 1 is the formula to calculate the splitting of the signal by the nuclear active atom. So n represents the number of nuclear active atom present and I is the nuclear spin value. Therefore 2 into number of deuterium atom present is 1 into its spin value is 1 plus 1, which gives the value 3. So it's a triplet. So this signal is again splitted into a triplet. So option A and B gets cancelled. So this triplet signal can be of the ratio 1:2:1 or 1:1:1. This value, the splitting of this ratio depends on the I value, that is the nuclear spin, as well as the total number of active nuclei that is present. So remember one thing, for n equals 1 and I equals 1, it follows for triplet it is 1:1:1. For n equals 1, and I equals of, it follows the Pascal's triangle, that is 1:2:1. Here the number of deuterium is 1, where n value is 1 and I value 1, so therefore it forms the triplet in 1:1:1 ratio.